Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So, working some more on Anju here, and Anju's grandma in this diagonal. So yeah, we are at 33%, so close to a third, because 33.33 is exactly a third if you want to get picky about it. But yeah, pretty close. And I'm thinking in this pass across the pattern, I'm going to go 70 rows. I usually do 60, but just with the final row count, I think it'll work out because I have to do one section that's 70 rows in height. So I'm thinking I might just make it this one rather than in the last pass, because I'll have more fabric at the top sort of in my way. So yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I tried to count carefully when I put the fabric in the frame for this pass across, so that there will be enough room for me to really get in there and do the 70 rows instead of 60. Okay, so I can do a whole bunch along this edge because they will not close anything in, which is always nice. So yes, they did come and plow my street again. They kind of had to, because we have a couple of school buses that use our street, and one of them got stuck. Yeah, I was coming home after picking my son up from school, and we saw a bus sort of sitting around the corner on our street. And my son said, "Are they stuck?" And I said, "Oh, I think maybe they're just letting kids off of the bus." And then he said, "No, because it wasn't the stop sign lights that were flashing, it was the hazard lights." And yeah, he was correct. So they were stuck and had to be rescued. And I said, well, then the city is going to have to plow after that. Yeah. And then sure enough, the very next day they were out plowing. So yeah, some years they don't plow at all, but there's been a lot more snow this year. They've had to. I was barely able to get in and out of our driveway. In fact, when I was coming home, I could only turn from one direction. If I tried to turn from coming the other direction, I just couldn't, because of the way sort of the snow had gotten shaped from driving over it. That yeah, there was basically a ridge from the other direction, and I could not traverse it with my my car. Even then, it was still, turning was kind of more of a spinning around on the center point and then going forward than it was actually like a smooth turn. It was wild. Yeah. I'm thinking if I'd had my old vehicle, which was a 97 CRV, I think I might have gotten stuck, because it's yeah, a little bit just a little bit skinnier of a wheelbase and a little bit lower, and I think, yeah, I was right on the borderline of getting stuck. So okay, I've got 2 strands of this because yeah, they're kind of going in opposite directions. So I'm thinking, though, this strand here that's lower down may not be long enough to do much with. Get my scissors and trim this here. So I had someone ask to explain more sort of which color I choose to go with. Sometimes, honestly, it's just my mood, what I feel like doing. Often, too, it's if one strand is threaded and another one isn't, and it makes sense to use the threaded one where it won't, you know, close in any stitches, I'll just do that first. Since, like I said, if it's already threaded, that sort of saves me a step there. Okay, I think this will actually be just enough, yeah, to do these last 2, but I'm going to unthread this because it's really short and I don't think the needle will stay on. Yeah, okay, perfect. And then, yeah, I'll start a new thread lower down. But that's even in the next diagonal, so I won't be doing that for a while. sometimes what thread to choose next is just what I feel like, because sometimes there's multiple choices that will work. Okay. And park that there. So now we're going to do these end stitches. Okay, let me take a look here if I'm going to do anything out of order or not. 37.46. Do I have any leftover little bits? No, I do not. Okay. So I think I'm going to go outside of my guidelines and do one stitch out of order because I don't have any leftover little bits. We'll see. Actually, I think I see a way I can do it. It will use a tiny bit more thread, but not by much. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm not having as much luck threading today. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. Kind of glad to be back on this pattern. I was working on Firefly for a few days and I discovered working with so many dark colors at once isn't really my thing. I find it kind of depressing, unfortunately. I didn't realize that would happen when I picked that pattern because, yeah, it's a very dark color palette, but I will persevere. I think maybe it'll help that it's not a focus piece and I'm sort of just doing it a few days a month. So by the time I start to get sort of burned out with it, I can switch back to something else. So that's the plan anyway. So those, I'm gonna park this here. And then once I've done the stitches above here, I'm gonna do all these stitches that are highlighted and park back up here. So that way I did not have to add another thread and I didn't have to go out of order. So some people may have decided to just do that one out of order, and again, totally up to you. I prefer to avoid it when I can because yes, I do find the end result is just a little bit tidier. Even though I know when it's hanging on the wall, you know, people probably won't notice, especially if they're not a stitcher themselves. They're not going to be looking at it with their nose right against the cloth, but yeah, I like it this way. So okay, so I think, yeah, it's a bit of a stretch, but I may actually just park it down there anyway. Yeah, it's still within that inch of how far I like to carry. 2, 3, 4, 5, and also this is all empty between this carry, so this thread across the back is going to get stitched over, and that will help anchor it in place. Yeah, I had someone saying that they had a problem when they left too long of a thread on the back when it was being stretched for framing. The threads either pulled and distorted at the fabric, or they might actually break, which would be like, no. You definitely don't want that happening. Mine was, I once left too long of a carry on the back that wasn't tacked down, and I caught it with the point of my iron when I was ironing it, and it pulled, and yeah, I had to readjust things and try to fix it, and I was not happy. So I'm very careful to avoid that now. Yeah, so like I said, they plowed our street, and actually what happened was they scraped up all the ice and sort of left it in the middle and used a backhoe to put gaps in it so you could, you know, turn corners and things. But so they had to leave it that way for a few days because I think they were clearing a lot of streets that way, so at least they were drivable. And then they finally came back with the big snowblower and removed it. They actually use a huge like snowblower machine, and then a large dump truck will drive alongside, and they blow the snow into the dump truck, and then the truck takes off and trucks it out of town. Yeah, so it's kind of cool to watch, actually. I had a little video of it up on my Facebook page, and I had friends, oh man, I've never seen that before. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so, and then of course, after they finished that, we actually had a bit of a thaw. Sometimes we get those midwinter, it actually got above freezing. So all the layers of ice on the trees all melted, and yeah, it made it nice and slippery and icy. That was fun. And then the temperature plummeted again, so yeah. Canada's temperatures, I swear, they jump around more than the stock market or a seismograph or something. It's wild. You can be wearing short sleeve shirt one day and then have to be bundled up with, you know, scarf and mittens and everything the next day. So far, fingers crossed, it hasn't been we haven't had anything too cold since December. We had a bit of a cold snap then. Felt like below minus 50 Celsius for a few days. That was not fun. So yeah, I wonder if we'll hit any more zeros this month. Okay, that's a really short piece, but I think these two leftover bits might be just long enough to do a single stitch each, so I'm going to save them anyway and give it a try. Oops, if it turns out they're too short, then I'll just throw them away later, but I'll give it a shot. Okay, so 30, 41. So there's a bit of confetti here. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, I discovered with my parking method, especially on a higher count fabric, it really makes a difference in how easy it is to get your needle through the fabric, because when it's surrounded by other filled in stitches, it can get really tight. Even though I'm not even using that high of a count of fabric, I'm using 18 count, but I'm also using 2 strands, and so it is a little bit thicker than on the 14 count, obviously. So yeah, I've seen it recommended people using 2 strands for full cross on 25 count, and I'm just like, wow. I don't think I could use that many. Even 18 count, it seems quite full enough for my taste. But different preferences, right? Yeah, some people just want absolutely no fabric potentially showing through. I don't mind if there's a little bit. Especially since, like I said, when you see it, you're going to be standing back, you know, 3 or more feet away, so. Okay, those pieces are definitely too short. Okay, so just going to go back to the top here, sort of fill in, and then I'm going to carry on downwards. I could have decided to continue on here and carry on downwards. It's just a matter of what I feel like right now. No real reason, just. Okay, so I'm going to move this thread down here so that it's out of my way and I'm less likely to accidentally stitch into it with my working thread. Yeah, I was was working on my 18 count yesterday, so I kind of have to readjust to being back on the 14 count. Yeah, one of my friends said she was working on 2 projects, and one was 18 count, and and the other one was 28 count. So she said, yeah, it was quite a shock, you know, going from huge to tiny, teeny tiny. Okay, 37.50. Yeah, I kind of wish I could work on some, you know, higher counts, but my eyes just do not like it, and I don't feel like using magnifiers, so I'll stick with my big projects. Yeah, somebody recommended for large pieces of cloth, Wool Warehouse, which is in the UK, but they do ship internationally and they sell by the meter, so their bolts are about 43 inches across rather than 60, but that's still pretty big. And I noticed they have, they also have 16 count, so I might go for that. Nice in between for 14 and the 18 count. Although I may stick with 18 count. We will see. Yeah, there's one guy in the official Heaven and Earth Designs group on Facebook who does his on 11 count, so they are massive and absolutely beautiful. Yeah. He had a picture, he said that his daughter was helping him. So he would put the needle through, she'd pull it the rest of the way. Insisted on helping. I said, oh, that'll be such a sweet memory for her when she gets older. Okay. So yeah, kiddo has a day off of school. After they finish their exams, the teachers get the semester turnaround day where they get to, get everything ready for the new semester. And the kids get a day off, so that's quite nice for them. When I was in school, they used to call those Pro D days, a professional development day, so I think they just called this administration day or something, but yeah. The result's the same. Kiddos get to have a day off. Okay, so I could do those stitches next, but as you can see, the first row is fine. The second row would close in this heart stitch, so I think I'm going to do that heart one next anyway. So this color, the 791, I thought I had a bunch of it because I'm going to need a lot. Between all my projects, I'm going to need like over 20 skeins of it. And I don't know, I must have missed buying this one because I don't have it. I went through all my bags of extra just to see if maybe I put it in the wrong bag, because I have the bags I put like, you know, 0 to 99 is in one bag, and then like 100 to 300 is in another bag, and so on and so on. And I went through all the bags and it's not there, so I guess I must have just neglected to buy it. I thought I bought it, but I guess I didn't. Then I went to the store and they only had like 4 of them, so I'll have to go back, I guess, in a few weeks and see if they have restocked it or not. I could order some, but I looked and I'd still have to pay like $15 of shipping, and since I'm only ordering one color, I can't be bothered. It was worth it when I was ordering like, you know, 300 skeins at once, but not to buy 20, so. Makes me kind of think maybe I should do inventory and check the rest of my colors, because I thought I'd bought everything I needed for several projects at once. But somehow that one got missed. Or I did buy these and I just lost it, and I'll only find it when I buy replacements, because that's always the way, right? Okay. So that's done. Perfect. Yeah, and then next to her will be her fiance, Cafe, with his Keaton mask on. Oh, it's funny. Apparently, if you wear the Keaton mask in Ocarina of Time before you talk to Princess Zelda, when she's a kid, she'll say, oh, something like, you're one of those pocket friends or whatever, and she's referring to Pokemon, because of course the Keaton mask does kind of resemble a Pikachu. So I thought that's pretty cool. I like when they give little nods to other games and stuff. Oh, it's funny because we got the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on DVD. We've been watching it with our son, and after I think season 3, Mrs. Banks was recast with a different actor, because the first one quit. And it was funny because at one point one of the characters says, there's something different about you, Mrs. Banks. And then Will kind of glances at the camera, does a sort of, breaks the fourth wall for a second. Yeah, it's pretty funny because, of course, it was a different actor. So, okay, I think I'm going to end up with a lot of threads of this color here because it kind of branches off in different directions. So you can probably see right now from looking at the pattern. So I'm going to do these 4 here, and then I'm going to park it down to the left, and then I think I'm going to do another thread for that sort of flow that goes down the further to the right hand side. Yeah, I was saying with the firefly, I managed to put in over 5,000 stitches, so slowly but surely we'll make progress, because 5,500 stitches is about 1%, so I managed to put in 1%. So now I'm going to just carry on down because over here is out of the diagonal. So let's see. Okay, 317. Oh, I have this out in my tray. Let's see. That means good. I think I have a perfect size piece for 1 stitch. Yes, I do. Excellent. See if I can thread this, as these ends are quite fuzzy here. Yeah, it's a lovely sunny day out today, so I'm going to enjoy that while it lasts. So we'll probably be blustery again soon. Yeah, my husband actually took some time off work when it got above freezing so he could clear all the slush off of the driveway before it refroze, because that's not fun. Yeah, that's why I say I prefer if it stays below freezing until actual real spring, so we don't end up with it frozen ruts everywhere and you get ice with snow on top, and yeah. It's not so fun when you can't see it. So I'm going back down here because I wanted to be able to do this color, but I'm going to carry this thread upwards, yeah, rather than downwards. And so in order to do that, I have to fill in these heart stitches here next to it. So yeah, the threads mostly travel down, but sometimes it just makes sense for them to travel up along that edge. That's just the way it happened because that one was parked there from previous diagonals. So okay, now we can travel this one upwards. Yeah, after working on 18 count yesterday, I have to say 14 count is definitely my favorite. Well, it's what most of us generally start on. It's the most popular for beginner kits and stuff, which is how I got my start. I don't even have that finished project anymore. But yeah, it was a little kit. Oh, I can't even remember what it said, but it was like, you know, a home sweet home or something like that, in a little oval frame, and it had, you know, a little bunch of flowers with a ribbon tied around them and such. Yeah, someone gave that to me when I was, for my birthday when I was 12, and that got me hooked. Wasn't a full coverage, but most of us don't start with full coverage, I think. That's sort of something you work your way up to. Although some people do. I have seen some people in cross-stitch groups I'm in who just jump right into Heaven and Earth designs. Like, wow, you're brave. Okay, so I could do these stitches, but instead I'm going to go over here and do the ones that are to the left so I can do a whole bunch of those heart ones at once. I do that when I can. Oh yeah, this is the short one, but it's just enough for these two, and then we'll tie it off. That is perfect. There we go. Thought I hadn't highlighted both for a second, but it did. Okay. And another single stitch here. I say I don't wind my thread onto bobbins, but the shorter pieces sometimes I do. It just helps keep them from getting tangled with my super long pieces. Don't you go splitting on me. So I'm going to have sort of 2 threads coming from each side for this, but that's okay. There's quite a lot in this area, so even though I have like 3 different threads here attached, I'm going to use them all. So I did those ones to the left so that I can do all of these at once before parking again. Otherwise, I would have done the top 3 and sort of had to stop. Which again, if you preferred to do that way, you could. I think I'm going to have a whole bunch in a row soon. Those L symbol stitches will do a bunch, I think. I actually am going to do some more stuff to the left first, so that when I get to this last row right here, I can do it as well. So I'm going to fill in this stuff here to the left. But again, that's just what I feel like. There's multiple different colors you could choose to do, and they would all work. Sometimes there's many, many choices, so you just have to pick one. One is not necessarily any better than another, just, yeah. So I'm going to do these 2 here, and then this one here, as it is also in a corner. And then park. I could get it to show up on Pattern Keeper, that is. Okay, so then a whole row here. There's a little knot there. Let's see. I can get it to release. Oh, it's a very tiny one, so I think we'll be okay if we pull it through. Yeah, it's really small. Don't know how that happens sometimes, but oh well. Okay, so now I'm going to do a whole bunch of these. 327. Okay, so a whole bunch here we could do. Might be time to reboot my tablet. It's a little laggy. Although, yeah, I've had it for almost 4 years now, so it's still pretty good considering it's getting older. Doesn't hold a charge as well, but I generally am only using it for stitching when I'm at home, so it's not a problem to keep it plugged in. Yeah, I find my method of stitching is not very portable. So I need sort of all my colors with me at once. So when I go traveling, that's when I do a background part that's like all one color I take with me. Then I don't need my tablet at all because I just I outline it first and then I fill it in. That's what I use my lap stand for. Yeah, I went to visit a friend and I got like 600 stitches done in white on my my Marvelous Garden while we visited. Okay, so put that aside for the next diagonal. Perfect. So I have 2 threads sort of coming from each side here, but that's okay. Because again, like I said, there's a lot in this area, and I think this one is only going to be good enough for this row here anyway. Yeah, pretty sure that'll be it. So I'm just trying not to stitch over my grid line there. Oh yeah, this one had the knot. I think that knot's going to be on the back now. Yeah, if it was going to be on the front, then I'll sort of skip a few stitches away to make sure that it stays on the back. But it worked out. If it was a big knot, I would have stopped and ended the thread and cut it out, but it was such a tiny one, I could get away with it, especially on a bigger count of fabric. If you were working on a high count, then that might not work because it could distort the hole, but the holes on 14 count are fairly substantial, so. Okay, actually I may have enough for a couple more, and I can see right now where I will park it. Okay, yes, so what I'm going to do here is park this right down here, because I'm going to use this other thread to do this and then park here and carry on with it. So it kind of just works out in a good place to use that. First, of course, I'm going to fill in what's to the left of it so as not to close them in. Okay, that is good. Nice long piece. Okay, now some of the stitches between this and where the next one is are done, so I'm going to just thread this along the back underneath the completed stitches, just to keep that tacked down so that it won't pull later potentially. So park that there. Okay, so a couple more to the left. Okay, and that's not long enough to park, so just do these 2 stitches and end them. And now these star shaped ones. So there's 2 directions I could go. I could park down here, or I could park over to the right. The one that's over to the right is slightly closer, so that I'm going to park that there. I'll start a new thread for the ones that are lower down when I get to them. Sometimes they're the same distance, so you can just park either one and it won't really matter. Just choose one. Yeah, but this one is slightly closer. So 2, 3, 4. And that's right on the edge, so I'm going to unthread that. Leave it for the next diagonal. Okay, so now we are back to these heart stitches I mentioned before. So I'm going to do these 4 and this one. Okay, and park that there so that I can do this L1. Find a shorter piece if we've got it, since there's only 2 stitches here. Perfect. Okay, so again, won't leave it threaded because it's a short piece. Okay, so now this one I parked earlier. Whoops. Yeah, and as I said, it'd be just right to do a couple of stitches, I think. Actually, it is long enough for a few more. And I like to use every last bit of thread that I can. So what I'm going to do is, I did these 2. I'm going to park it down here. So I'll have 2 threads meeting in the middle. It's just how it works out sometimes when you have multiple threads. That is okay. Oh, 33.22, so will we hit 33.33? I will today, maybe not necessarily during this session. And then we will be a third of the way through. Yeah, this is smaller project means that it's flying right past. Okay, so this one is kind of right on the edge, but as it's still threaded, I will stitch with it a bit more. Because why not? So excited. The final season of Star Trek Picard starts this month, so yeah, I'm sad it only went for 3 seasons, but I mean, kudos to Sir Patrick Stewart. You know, he's over 80 and was willing to still work on a show, so okay, so I'm gonna park that there. And yeah, that is definitely out of the diagonal, so yeah. So I got quite a few threads in sort of one little area, but that's okay. Okay, do 2. This one. I think this will use up this piece. Oh yeah. Perfect. So I was able to use all of the threads, not waste any. Yeah, this is just right. Couldn't have measured it better if I tried, I think. Yeah, the worst is when you have just enough thread to finish off those stitches, and then it snarls on you. And you have to cut it out. It's like, no, I had a plan. You ruined it. Okay, so again, I've got multiple threads, so let's see what lengths they are. So I can decide what I want to do. That's only one strand of it. Where's the other one? There we go. Okay, so that is only long enough for that one stitch in the corner there. And this one is pretty long, and then there's another one down here. Yeah, that's a fairly long one too. Okay, so I'm going to start with the shortest one first so that I can get it ended off and out of my way. Yeah, so we'll do that one. And then of course I have to switch colors again, because if I worked on the next strand of this color, I'd be closing stuff in, which I do not want to do. Not when I can help it. Yeah, so sometimes I switch colors a lot, and then sometimes get to work for a fair bit with the same color. Just sort of all depends on the pattern and how it works out. Okay, fine. I didn't want to come up in that one because there's 3 other threads in it already, and that can make it a little trickier to get the needle to come up in that spot. Okay, so Okay, back to this color, and then I can park it out of the diagonal and be done with it. So, yeah, I know it looks like chaos, but it is controlled chaos. Yeah, I kind of like how all this mess of threads becomes nice, neat stitching. Or sometimes when people are sharing the backs of their work, and it's like, yeah, it's so nice and neat on the front, and then it looks like an abstract painting on the back. That's kind of cool. Okay, so back over to the left. And starting another thread, 3839. Okay, I could do this number 9, but I think I'm actually going to fill in some stuff here to the left. Because I think, yeah, I just feel like it. Could have done the 9s first if I wanted to. Either one would work. Yeah, in fact, I think I will do the 9s now. That one's kind of borderline, but I'll leave it on and see if we can keep the needle on the thread or not. Yeah, not sure if this piece will be enough for this whole area. Probably not, unfortunately. But that is okay. I think this is the edge of that scroll sign, like fabric kind of sign they have in the clock town in this game. Yeah. Okay, so this one is, yeah, the longer one I pulled up earlier. Okay, so let me actually go a little further down the diagonal because I can see a way I can do more stitches at once without having to switch colors so many times. because if I had decided to do this color, when I get down here, I can't do the one that is at the bottom of that section because it would close in this stitch here, this half circle stitch, so that is why I chose to do that first. So do these three, those two, and then park it. Now, I'm not going to leave that threaded because I'm going to be sort of filling in more of this area before I get down there. Too many needles on and it'll just tangle by the time I get there. And I'll spend more time untangling than I will if I just rethread. So, yeah, kind of strike a balance between the two. So this one and those three. So that is why, again, like I said, I filled in this stuff to the left so that I could do these three here at once instead of having to stop one extra time. Okay. Parked. Okay, so let's take a look at this color here. How long this, yeah, this thread was a short one, so. But I think it will be just enough, yes. So I'm gonna park it right here. Oh, that'll be thread now, darn it. Sometimes I forget how short the piece is and I pull a little too hard and the needle pops right off. Okay, I'm going to actually park it right here under this N symbol because I'm going to start a new thread over here and work my way here, and I don't want to close in stitches because that one is kind of alone by itself in that row, so it's perfect for the one stitch that thread is long enough to do anyway. So oh, I grabbed the wrong thread, didn't I? Yep. Yeah, I suddenly went, if that one still had a needle on it, then it's not the symbol I think I'm picking up because I haven't done any of this symbol yet. Well, why don't we stitch until it hits 3.33. That will be exactly a third through. Unless we happen to accidentally go over 0.32. Okay. Yeah, unless I do a bunch at once and it goes 0.34, which could happen. We will see. Yeah, stitching on my huge projects, it takes a lot longer for that number to move than it does on a smaller project like this one. .32 still. Go back to this lowercase letter P. Yeah, since I just used it, so it'll be right on top with its needle. Makes it easier to pull. Okay, and out of this diagonal here. Oh, there we go. 33.33. Cool. And almost exactly 16,000 total. It's 15,998. So I like stopping on interesting numbers like that. So I think that is where I will quit for today. So as usual, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here again another time. All right, thanks everyone. Bye.